You guys, people are always coming up to me asking me about my equipment. They send me emails, they send me messages on Facebook. They want to know, Catherine, what do you use to record the She's Crafty podcast? Let me tell you something. I use these amazing headphones. They're from a company called Studio Sweden. I have two pairs. My original pair are called the Regent, and those I use to record every single podcast. So the sound quality on them is so good. I don't hear any background noise as I'm recording, and they're my favorite. They're my go-tos. I literally use them every single podcast. Recently, I got a second pair of headphones, you guys. These are called the Vasas. They're earbuds. So the great thing about these is that they are completely Bluetooth, which means that I can walk around with them. I can wash dishes. I can drive. I can work out with my earbuds in, and I don't have to worry about my phone being all clunky next to me or whatever. But here, listen to this other thing that's really great about them. They have this really high quality built-in mic, which means that I can also record podcasts with just my phone with these bad boys. I don't even have to plug in a mic or anything. It's so awesome. But on top of these being such great quality, they're beautiful. Both pairs are just gorgeous. They come in this beautiful packaging. This last pair came with this little leather pouch to go with it. They have gorgeous detail on them. So they're stylish, they're high quality, they're Bluetooth. This last pair has a built-in mic. You can't go wrong, you guys. So do me a favor, go to their website. It's studio.com. That's SUDIO.com. Put in the code She's Crafty 15 and get 15% off your first order.
Shut up and sit down.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the She's Crafty podcast. I'm your host, Catherine Contreras. My co-host, my beer bae, Jackie, back again.
I know, I'm doing it.
I know, you're in it, girl.
Okay.
Can't get rid of me now.
Oh, geez. It's official. Am I gonna? We already talked about changing my last name, so never mind.
Yeah, you
I'm
do need to
moving in
change
this
it.
time.
With me?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's happening.
You'll have another babysitter. I don't know if you want me to babysit your kids, though.
No, I don't think that's a good idea.
No, I don't think so.
Jackie drinks a lot. She drinks a lot. So does my baby, but she doesn't have to drive anywhere.
She's not driving anywhere.
Yeah. We're at Guadalupe Brewing today. I'm so excited with Keith and Jason. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Yeah, thanks for having us. We're so excited. So let's roll right into our first segment, which is Someone Get Them a Fucking Beer, right? And this week we're giving a beer to driver's ed teachers.
Oh, drivers. Okay, good. I thought it was going to be the kid that actually ran into the building. I was like, that's both underage.
We don't want to
drinking
give her
and
any more.
driving.
She doesn't need any more beers. But apparently there's a young girl who was getting her driver's license, and she crashed her car into the driver's building. The driver's license building.
Yeah, the
driver's ed building.
The
during her
driver's
test.
license, yeah.
Don't they have like a brake on there so that they can stop that?
No,
No,
so
this
it
was like her test.
to get her license in her car.
Yeah.
Yeah, so instead of putting it in reverse, she put it in drive.
And she went right into the building.
Floored it because she went
Yeah,
into
she
the
was a
building.
little excited,
Did she
I think.
pass?
No, she has to take it
She
again.
has to take
they
it
said.
again.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that she's going to be traumatized. And
Yeah,
like the
that's
driver,
poor
she
girl.
escaped with no injuries, but the driver's ed teacher actually had to go in an ambulance.
Those
She had
poor-
minor injuries.
Poor driver's ed teachers, right? I feel so bad for them. I have a 16-year-old. She just got her. She got her permit on Friday, and there's nothing more terrifying than her text message because her dad took her, and she's like, "I got my permit," and I was like, "Oh God."
Here we go.
How close was she to the building? Was she in the middle of the parking lot or like just right in front?
Yeah, so they have a picture of it that I can show you. And so she's in. She was
in a parking spot.
It was in a parking spot, and it's a small town in Minnesota, so it wasn't a huge parking lot.
Minnesota.
Yeah,
Minnesota.
I love a Minnesotan accent.
Is it like sexy? You love it, or like cartoony?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
Jackie loves a hot Minnesotan. Is that it? Minnesotan.
Minnesotan. Yeah.
Yeah. So she drove that motherfucker right through the front of the building. I bet her mom was real proud.
I know. She was.
They make them wait like 6 months and redo the whole thing again before they can actually get back in the car.
Yeah, I think that's what it said, was that she has to wait 6 months which should be sufficient time to recover from the traumatic
I feel like I would have
experience.
done something like that at 16.
What kind of beer would
For
you
sure.
get the driver's ed teachers?
Oh, that's a really good question. Something with a high EBV for sure. Yeah.
Where'd you get him?
Like right at the hospital.
Dignity.
Yeah.
16.1.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, there we go. And like he doesn't even need to drink it. Let's just put it right into his IV. Yeah.
Let's just put him out. Poor dude.
Yeah, what a bad day.
That's a horrible
his
day.
wife later was probably like, I told you this job was dangerous. I don't know why you do
the same
it.
driver for her, like the same.
It should be.
Well, it's a small enough town that it probably is, which is probably even more terrifying for the poor girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was 17.
Yeah.
Probably terrifying for both of them.
Yeah, I was thinking, I was like, man, I've been driving for 17 years, you know.
Not everyone needs to drive, though.
Yeah,
No.
I agree.
Yeah.
Uber, Lyft.
Yeah, that's what I told my
Uber and
daughter.
Lyft.
I was like, I think like in 10 years, driving's not even going to be a thing anymore.
No.
Why do we even have to go down this road?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do
you even have to get behind my Jetta? I don't think you do.
I don't think you deserve it.
Yeah, you don't deserve it.
Yeah, that has to be terrifying because you don't have the brake. My mom used to, when she was supposed to take me to driver's ed, she put me in driver's ed, and when it was time for me to do my driving, like actual hours of driving, they're like, so have you driven at all? And I was like, no. And they're like, you've had your permit. And they told my mom, they're like, you know you're supposed to be taking her out on drive.
It's
She's
terrifying.
like, that's what I pay you for.
Yeah, thank you, because I took my daughter to driver's ed, and she gets in the car, and she's like, I need 17 hours of parental driving. I'm like, what the fuck did we pay $300? That guy chose this job. I didn't.
The
that
stress.
doesn't make sense.
And you can't do it drunk because then you get in trouble if you're drinking.
Of course. Yeah.
I guess that's who we'd send the beer to.
Yeah.
The parents.
Yeah, that's who needs it for real. Like, she can't even load the dishwasher properly and supposed to like let her drive my car. That doesn't even make sense.
I mean, I can't load the dishwasher properly either, and I've been driving. So
Bad comparison.
Kids are the worst. I remember my grandfather taught me and I like hit like so many curves, and he would yell so loud, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know.
My mom was the most stressful person like to be in a car with because she expected you to be perfect all the time.
Yeah. Even though you'd never done it before.
Even though I'd never done it before.
Yeah, and before GPS, so like I would get lost in the city all the time.
Paper maps.
I was always lost.
You just keep one in the glove compartment.
Lost to places that I would go to every day too, because I would like miss the exit or something, and then realize I'd driven like 30 miles.
Around.
Yeah. Get all crazy and sweaty and nervous.
I don't know where I am.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm so sorry, driver's ed teacher.
I
Hope you have
know.
a better week this week. You get a beer from us. Okay, we're at Guadalupe Brewing, which is super exciting. We have never been here before. This is my first time. We've had Anna on the show, so we've definitely had representation, but we've never been to the brewery before. Okay, so you guys want to tell us a little bit about how you got started and what you guys do out here?
Oh, I guess it was.
More on you.
Yeah, it was maybe 7.5 years ago. Was when we decided to get into the business. So we did about a year and a half of training and traveling and really deciding on what the business model and plan would be. And Anna was kicking and scratching the whole way against it. But it's just one of those things that I really felt like, based on what I could see in the market and where beer was at in the Pacific Northwest and Europe, all the places where I worked, it was amazing. And growing up in Texas, there was nothing available. God, I mean, it was fucking horrendous. It really was. So getting fresh beer to this market was really what we wanted to do.
Okay.
So we did our research, and I felt like we had a good game plan for what we wanted to do, and we started up. And I guess after many years of doing things the wrong way, we're pretty solid now and on our feet.
Very nice. When you say doing things the wrong way, what were some of the initial mistakes?
Everything.
Like serving not beer, maybe something else?
Well, no. I mean, it was, honestly, I think the best way to get into this business is to have 5+ years actually not only brewing, but having, knowing the industry.
Yeah.
And there's so many startups now. I think a lot of people are just getting into it, and they don't have the background, and there's just a lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of information out there. The Brewers Association has a lot of data that's available to give you a good roadmap. But I really do feel that you need a little bit of background not to make the mistakes, because it's expensive.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, there's a lot of things that we just didn't see coming, and
Yeah.
I mean we're past them, but
I mean, a lot of it's growing pains. You don't know you have an issue until you run into it as you get bigger and bigger.
and we did that for years and years.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a lot of, I mean, that's all business, right? Yeah.
I think the part that's so amazing to me is like when you look around and in the brewery and you see that you guys are pumping out so much beer in this limited space, and that's so impressive. But it also means that you guys are working a lot.
It's
I'm sure.
incredibly inefficient.
Yeah.
We've never had we've got one small drain next door where the brew kettle is, and it's been 6.5 years of squeegeeing.
And mopping, no
And
floor
mopping,
drains,
that's
no
right.
sloped floors.
Oh my goodness.
And
yeah.
Jason, how long you've been with us? 4 years
A
now?
little over 4 years.
Yeah. So he's been here for the majority of the time. Bless his heart. And but now the reward is now that we've gotten to the point to where we're expanding. Everything has floor drains now. Everything.
Everything.
Nice. So speaking
Everything.
of expanding, we can see the construction happening
Yeah.
next door. How long have you guys been working on that? Has it been?
It's only been a short amount of time, but it's something that mentally we approached the gentleman that owns the land maybe about a year ago. We knew we would have to get out of this space and get something that was built to suit drains,
Right.
everything that. And this basically is a storage unit here, which has worked great.
Yeah.
But, we've had just a lot of pains here, but. So about a year ago, we approached the farmer next door and told him what we would like to do. And he was having some health issues. And I think when some of those got so bad that he didn't know what his timeline was, he thought maybe it would be a good time to have some dialogue about what we could do. And he's staying in the house next door,
Oh, okay.
and he'll stay there. We worked out a deal where he won't pay anything, and he'll stay
wow.
there for the rest of his life.
Nice.
And he's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's very salty.
Is
funny.
he?
Yeah.
Yes, that's
He's
it. Does he
fun.
get free
Yeah.
beer? Does he drink a lot of beer?
He drinks a little,
He drinks
Yeah.
a little from time to time.
Yeah.
but
Nice.
yeah, he did a lot back in the day. Matter of fact, he still has a couple of 6-packs over there full of beer that's from probably when I was born.
Vintage.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'd really love to bust open.
They've been
those.
aging for a while.
Ooh.
Mm,
Wow.
yummy,
A
yummy.
lot of sediment on it.
Yeah.
So, Jason, what was your path to come to Guadalupe?
I started out working with a friend of mine up in Austin on Lake Travis, and we were trying to open up a restaurant at the time. And I knew someone who was making beer, and I was like, cool, well, I'll do that and try and sell that and make some money, and we can open our restaurant. And I started making beer, and for me, it was like Alice in Wonderland. It was like going down the rabbit hole.
Nice.
Like it just kept going and going and going, and it got to a point where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I moved to Sean Patrick's in San Marcos and had the Honey Ale at Whippin' in Austin. And so I was like, immediately, I have to get this on tap. And that's how I met Keith and Anna. And then I'd say probably about a year later, I had asked them if I could deliver for them. But with the 3-tier system, I wasn't allowed to work at the
Oh, yeah.
restaurant and a brewery.
Right.
So I
To
said,
be
"Screw
fair,
it."
we recruited you.
Yeah.
We went after him because he had such a pleasant personality. He was respectful, and it's difficult to find people in this industry that are. I mean, he had a little bit of background, but completely trainable with the right
Yeah.
attitude and smart guy. So, me and Anna just went out and was like, "Yeah, dude, let's."
Start
Right.
driving and bottling.
It's like being recruited into a cult, kind of. Right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
It wasn't easy starting
Yeah.
out for sure. Just-
I mean, I would say that Guadalupe definitely has a cult-like following
Yeah, this
in a
is where,
good way.
like,
not-
if I had to be a part of a cult, I feel like a beer
Yeah.
cult would be the way to go.
I mean, I think that Keith could probably get away with putting cyanide in beer and people would drink
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
yeah.
But I don't think he would.
That depends on the person.
Yeah.
On the
We'll
crowd.
talk further.
Yeah,
you
you
don't-
guys would look really good in like a long Afghan. You know what I mean? I think it could work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but let's
Probably
try. We'll
be
try a
pretty
cult
nice
night
and
and see what
cool.
A
happens.
cult night.
Yeah, it'll be like a
Be like,
a
okay,
tap
the
release.
beer is free, but it's laced with cyanide.
Yeah. How far will you follow us? That's the real question. Yeah.
No.
What would we call that? Kool-Aid?
Yeah.
No, Flavor Aid.
yeah,
Drink
but
the Kool-Aid.
It's
Flavor
Flavor
Aid.
Aid.
There you go.
Yeah, he actually, Jim Jones used
Oh, he
Flavor
used
Aid,
Flavor Aid?
not Kool-Aid.
Oh.
He was
What
a cheap
cheap
motherfucker.
Yeah, he couldn't afford
Yeah,
Kool-Aid.
it was
Wow.
lime Flavor Aid.
Ew, lime, the worst one.
Best way to cover up cyanide, I guess.
I guess.
I don't know what
Interesting.
the
This took a
tastes like, so I don't know how
dark
that
corner
pairs
here.
well.
I don't
Supposed to-
either.
I know. It's supposed to taste like almonds.
Does
Almonds
anyone
or
know?
Almonds or walnuts.
Why do you know that?
I have a
Jackie's
thing
got
for
a
murder.
real sketchy past. You guys probably don't know this about
I'm from
her,
El Paso,
but
Keith.
she's
A lot of crack shows.
she's been into some shit that she doesn't talk about.
I'm from El Paso.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Wow.
We know what's up. She's got shit all smuggled under her jeans and shit.
Right. I'm all-
I love El Paso.
Oh, I love El Paso too. It's just the what people think of it, you know, or like the misconception. I love to like riff on that. I
Yeah,
think it's a
but-
great
Yeah,
city.
but fuck those people.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. So that's why I'm always like, oh yeah, I'm from El Paso, and they're like, ooh, and I'm like, I know, right? People think I'm like
Back
real
off.
gangster, yeah, or like I have like some kind of like
Oh,
cartel.
that's cool. Nobody ever. I grew up in Katy. Nobody ever says that. They're like, oh,
they just assume you're white.
they just assume I'm like a cowboy or some shit. Yeah.
yeah. I got a little bit of that hood status just from being from El Paso.
Yeah.
I love El Paso. I think it's a great place.
I've
It
only
is a
driven
great
through it
place.
once.
I enjoyed it. There's the craft beer scene there is really exploding.
Yeah, yeah.
The Hoppy Monk out
Hoppy
there is a
Monk.
great place.
That was where I got my start in
Was that their
craft beer.
original
Was just
location?
listening.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so that's where I
Wow.
got my start, like drinking craft beer. Was at Hoppy Monk.
a
So
couple of brew pubs out there. They're really good. I've
yeah.
stopped in, and had
One of
some
my
stuff.
favorites is Dead Beach
Yeah.
in El Paso. So if anybody's in El Paso, hit up Gabe at Dead Beach.
Oh, get it,
Yeah.
Gabe.
Yeah, get it, Gabe. He used to be. Quick side story. He used to be a assistant brewer for like a brew pub, kind of in the same vein as BJ's, but they did Mexican food, and it was called Jackson's.
Okay.
Yeah, and so he did that for 10 years,
Wow.
and then all of a sudden Jackson's like went bankrupt, and he was out of a job.
Oh.
He bought their old brew system, so he had little like turnaround time. He didn't have to really learn the system because he had already known
He's already
it, and then he
comfortable
just like remanufactured some of like their recipes, and then he's done all of his stuff, and his
Wow.
beer has been top notch since day one.
Right on.
Wow, that's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, so he's a really cool guy too.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Very
It's really
nice.
cool that he got to purchase the equipment that he, learned.
That he
on.
learned on.
Because
Exactly.
you know all the ins and outs.
Yeah, he knows all the ins and outs. So, like, he didn't really have any of that downtime where you're still trying to learn, figure out the kinks. It takes a few months to learn your system. Well, he had been brewing on that system for 10 years. So,
Wow.
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do we want to taste a little beer? Maybe.
Sure. Absolutely.
We want to grab some beer that we can try.
What do you guys feel like? What?
No, we want you
We're
guys
here
to
for
tell
the
us what we should
experience.
drink. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I want wine. Do you have wine? No.
can I get one?
Can I get a rosé?
Ooh, that
Ew, you
German
brought beer. Gross.
you brought beer. They do
Get some humility.
I need a little of that.
Yeah.
humility.
Yeah.
They
You got me
do
pegged, Keith.
A really good michelada with their Scotch ale.
Ooh, yum.
Just saying, Wendy does it right. I love
Nice.
Wendy.
Did you get some? Get some of the gratitude.
This is really good too.
This is the IPA, right?
Yeah, the mango,
so-
the hazy, the mango New England IPA. That's really good.
A lot of the beers that we're doing right
Yeah,
now,
it's so
all of the names represent good human
Values.
traits and
Nice.
values, right?
Okay.
Just a little over the whole evil shit.
No, you know what? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I think I know specifically what you're talking about, and I would say that we agree.
I don't know. I don't know if they're looking for shock value, but it's just like, what's
Yeah.
next? Are they going to name a beer pedophile?
Yeah,
Or
probably.
rape, or what's
Or,
next? I
yeah.
just, and
Yeah.
I'm saying that lightly, but
No.
I'm done with it.
No, I know.
Yeah.
It's in the way the world is now. We need more light.
Yeah.
not
I
so
like
much
that.
You know what?
darkness.
So
I've
true.
talked about this before on the show, and a lot of some of the beer community in San Antonio doesn't like me, but I don't think that people realize that, like, when they name their beers things that are gross like that even though it doesn't affect you in a negative way, there could be some creepy ass dude out there like buying his beer and he's like, oh yeah, you know, like you're sparking
Well,
things in people that you don't even
Right.
understand.
But I think we've had enough of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I
We
like
definitely
that.
have.
I like that you guys are coming out with
Yeah.
more
And it says a lot about your beer because it doesn't have to be
shock
shocking
value
to be
It's
delicious.
to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first beer that you guys brewed?
Ever?
No, like on a commercial, like for Guadalupe.
Well, the honey ale was what Anna wanted. She was keeping bees out of the house at Canyon Lake,
Oh, okay.
and she wanted a beer. So that was the first thing that we worked on out at the house, and that and the Scotch ale is what we did out there. And we just really basically brought that over, scaled it, and
Yeah.
did a large batch. But the first batch ever that we did was honey ale
Wow.
on the 10-barrel system that we had next door.
Awesome.
So yeah,
That is really cool.
Repurposed dairy equipment.
that's right. Hey, it
Really?
works.
Repurpose what?
Dairy equipment.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
nice.
Like the break and brew systems.
Yeah.
That's how we brewed for years. It
Whoa.
was only until, not this past December, but the year before that we actually got our new 20-barrel brew house. So for years we were just brewing on a rectangular dairy tank.
You know what, Jason? I'm so sorry. You're gonna have to make love to this motherfucker. Okay,
Too quiet.
get real close in there. That's right.
You're okay.
You know how to do it. Don't
yeah.
pretend like you don't.
Don't be
Just
shy.
like boys camp.
Yeah. Gotta get up
Pretend
in
that you're
there.
singing
That's
karaoke
right.
into
You
it
just
like you're
pretend
drunk.
dance like no one's watching. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
there we go.
Yeah.
Nobody is watching, which
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
good thing.
Jason's
Yeah.
like, what in the fuck?
Oh wow, dairy equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still actually outside.
Nice.
Oh.
To give credit where credit's due, Tom Hennessy out of Colorado Brew Boy in Ridgeway, Colorado, is where I went up and did training after I finished my diploma in brewing science, and he had a Franken brew system, and just a super solid guy. If anybody ever has any interest in learning the industry from a brew pub perspective, he does an immersion course up there,
Oh wow.
and it's really well priced.
Tell me a little bit about your degree in
brewing science.
brewing science. Where did you get that degree from?
Well, that was just part of our background.
Okay.
But if you're going to get into something, you better have a little bit
Yeah.
of
Education.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, and honestly, I was extremely naive, maybe a little bit of arrogance there. I think that the core science of brewing, as far as fermentation and some of the other elements, that's not too difficult with that kind of training. But the true difficulty is it's 50% science and then it's 50% art. So have you ever seen these guys that sit down with a palette of paint and do something, and they're mixing, they're blending?
Yeah.
And when they get done, you're just like, fuck me. How do they do that? I
Yeah.
mean, that takes so much experience and so much talent to get to that point. It's the same thing with beer.
Yeah.
If you know what blends well, if you know what works, and it just takes years of experience to get that type of skill.
Yeah.
So, for a long time, we just struggled, and honestly, it was like Edison with the fucking bulb.
Do you
It was
ever
like throw everything
Do you
at
ever
it
just
and
like
okay.
kind of sit back and like see these like younger brewers that go and like just pump all this money into something and then think like, oh, I don't know if that's probably not gonna work out for you?
Oh, I'm afraid of that. Like seeing that happen.
Yeah, because it happens a lot now. Because I
Yeah.
think that everyone thinks that they like podcasting, right? Everybody thinks that they can do it. But I notice that it happens, and then you're like, oh shit, how do they even? How do you
know.
start with like this big
well, but
shiny?
you don't want to
like,
be
Yeah.
discouraging, because the industry really does. There's an article in an industry magazine that I got the other day, and I was reading through it, and really what big beer and even big regionals are scared of now is all these pop-up
Yeah.
breweries that you're actually consuming on premise and you're taking things to go.
Yeah.
I was talking with Seth from Five Stones last night. He came out and we had some good dialogue. And one of the fascinating things, me and Jason go on road trips constantly. Mm-hmm. We just got back from a collaboration in Tampa Beer Works, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, super great people. But we're going on all these trips, and it's half beer fun and getting inspired by the creativity, and then half of it is actually looking at the business model of what they're doing, how well it's working, because you go into those markets and it's like, okay, what's working for them?
Yeah.
What are they doing? But what's really startling is you go into some of the stores that have product on the shelves, and we were stunned. And remember, we went to Denver and we were looking on the shelf, and there was shit. There was nothing.
Oh yeah.
And
We went to
nothing.
Argonauts downtown, and I was like, he had never been, and I was like, this is one of my favorite bottle stores. We went down there, and the shelves were like just bare.
Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So-
I don't know what it was. It wasn't around like JBF or anything
Yeah.
like that. So
Well,
it was just-
I can tell you what it is people are buying product out of the brew pubs.
Yeah.
If you have, what's more fun than getting in your car and
Yeah,
going to a
of
couple of brew
course.
pubs? It's what I was addicted to. It's
Yeah.
one of the things that, one of the reasons we started up with, the company that we did. But, so the whole way people buy of craft beer is changing. For a lot of companies that are outside of the state, they look at the state as, oh, well, they're still evolving, so they're going to push their beer into these stores and really try to get into the market. It won't last.
Right.
Ultimately, what's going to happen is those guys have to be shelf stable. You're not going to have a fresh beer. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Your mom's cooking versus Stouffer's out of a
Right.
out of a freezer. So it's just not viable. It's not, and it's just, it will not last.
Well, you're already starting to see it happen. I think Green Flash just closed down
Yeah.
one of theirs.
I saw that.
Somewhere on the
Yeah.
East Coast, I think. That's
Yeah.
up for sale.
Exactly. Yeah, and you see more. You're going to see more and more of it. But that told me something important there, that a business model looking to saturate shelves with a product and going after money, and thank God it is, the whole greed and trying to exploit this industry for
Right.
what it is. Fuck y'all, because you're gonna fail.
Yeah. That's right.
I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So anyway, you look at what's happening now. Seth is the same way. You create a great product. You produce it in house. I mean, you push a little bit of it out just to throw that lure out to get the people to come in. And ultimately, 5 years from now, is we're going to grow premise sales into like all of our specialties. I'm not going to push that out.
Right.
Those are actually going to be sold out through releases out of our facility.
Very
And that's
nice.
what other breweries are doing
Are doing.
elsewhere.
Because
Yeah.
it's driving foot traffic, because people want to have the special releases and then they're going to sit and have a beer.
Well, I think
So
people
it's-
want to be more educated on what the product is. They want
Yeah.
to see where it came from.
Exactly.
all
I
that
think
kind of-
also it's just like the beer experience,
Right.
right? Like you can't get the beer experience if
Yeah.
you
But the
just go
quality
pick
of
up.
the ingredients, you can't, from a financial standpoint, we can't brew that beer, then go through distribution.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the retailer gets their part, and the end consumer's going, what the fuck
Right,
is...
because it's not quality anymore. Right.
So
by the time
what do
it
you
gets
do?
there.
Do you compromise your product?
Yeah.
No.
Then you compromise who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
So ultimately, we have to get those margins out of the brewery in order to survive and keep doing what we're doing.
And some real ingredients, some of them that we use, they don't they don't last at the same pace as others.
Right.
So some
True.
of the spices
So
will
it's
fall
going
out
to
faster
change
than
in like
other.
in ways that
And
you're
if
not
you-
going to have control over.
Yeah, if you give that to a distributor and you don't know how long it's going
Right.
to sit in your warehouse, then all of a sudden it's on tap somewhere and it's not represented the way that you intended it to be in the first
Right.
place.
And
So-
Jason will tell you one of the biggest things that'll piss us off is to go pay $14 for a fucking little 12-ounce bottle, and you open it up, you pour it, and initially it's like, oh wow, this may be really good, and then you taste the extract
Yeah.
right there, and it's just like, fuck you,
Yeah.
you for doing that to me and my money.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what we're kind of staying away from.
All right.
So,
And we, with those kind of ingredients, we can test our tap all every week. So before we open our doors to the public, we've already gone through and tasted everything. So we're like, all right, it's up to our standards. Now we're good to go.
Right,
And if
before you
not, then
serve
we'll
it.
just pull that keg and then we'll reevaluate
Yeah.
how to fix that situation.
Do we want to try some of this delicious, fresh
what is this
beer?
one
Coconut scotch.
I don't think have you tried that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's try it again.
Come out
Here.
here. I sneak in here.
This is.
Oh,
let me
yeah.
just tell you.
Let me
I
see
complain
you.
about this every fucking episode. Every time we go somewhere, and I'm like, Jackie, okay, let's try this, and Jackie's like, oh, I just had that 5 minutes ago. I
What
just
is
drank that
this?
in my car.
That is the German chocolate.
That
We
is
have the
delicious.
Belgian strong, and then we have the rum barrel aged Russian Imperial
I'm loving
Stout.
this coconut. I have like a place in my heart for coconut for some reason. I
Really?
think maybe because I'm kind of a coconut, I guess.
I love German I'm sorry, I was thinking the German chocolate because he handed it to me. I love coconut, the taste of it, but I don't like the texture.
Oh,
of
the
it.
texture because it
Yeah.
tastes like paper or whatever.
So
My
this
kids
is-
won't eat it, which is weird.
I was that way when I was a kid, but I got over that.
Yeah, like as
Yeah.
you get
I
older,
hated
right?
tomatoes, and now I love tomatoes.
Ooh.
Yeah, what is that? It's coconut and tomatoes for my kids too.
Mm.
Interesting.
What's
Yeah,
that
this
one?
one's good.
That one's the German chocolate stout.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
This one's
yeah.
gonna get me fucked up.
And true to
It's
our fashion,
really
most
good.
of our beers are probably about
High
7%.
ABV. Yeah, I think that
higher.
the
16%.
Scotch ale is like 8%.
Yeah, I
yeah,
could
it's a little
tell.
over 8.
Well, like
8.17.
8
Feels good.
Yeah, it feels
This one
good.
you'll have to
Yeah.
be careful on. It's a little over 16%.
Ooh, oh, let's get
What-
hand that one
was
this way.
right?
Let me see.
No, this is the German chocolate stout. I can smell it.
Oh
right
yeah,
away.
no, yeah, that one.
So what was that?
What was that?
What was that boozy bitch we
it's,
just drank?
Humility. It's our rum barrel
Okay,
aged
that
Russian
one
Imperial Stout.
definitely. Yeah,
Humility.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh,
it's probably gonna humiliate me if I drink too much of it.
this is so good. Like I
Yeah,
could
this one's
just
good.
I could sleep with that one. Just have it in a bottle like a kid.
We also
Sexy.
pride ourselves in not using any extracts. as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So the coconut you're getting, we actually roast the coconut in the brewery to
Wow.
add to the beer.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's good, right? You want to just sit with it?
I mean, it's